Let's do this, America. That's what I'm talking about. This is Dr. Mike Sevilla live for Wednesday, August 6, 2014. And it is 9 p.m. Eastern Time and 8 p.m. Central in Kansas City. And you'll get that reference soon. And let's see, here at Family Medicine Rocks World Headquarters, wait for it. Wait for it on this summer day here. It is 66 degrees. Wow, I can't believe that.
It's a little chilly.
So I know. So what is this show about here? I have no idea. But what I have in my script here, because I can never go off the script, is creating conversations about family medicine, social media, life, and whatever comes up. And joining me tonight, as always, is our good pal, Dr. Jerry Tolbert. How are you, sir?
Good, Mike. How's it going? I
have this thing in my ear. You know, I'm hearing something. It's a little low. You may have to turn up a little bit, but
right, let's crank the theme song up here a little bit. I was playing around in GarageBand a little while ago, and
the theme song. What's going on there, Jerry?
Well, even though the show doesn't have a name yet, it does have a theme song. I composed a little ditty with my iPad and my new setup, which we'll get into a little bit later, to give us a little bit of to make us look a little bit more official.
Ah, wow. Official. Man, we're like, it's getting
it's
crazy
like a real
around here,
podcast.
Jerry. This is like a real show out there. And already we have a fan, our good friend, I forgot his name already. That's how good of a friend he is. I just forgot. Our good friend Dave from Salem here is watching us here tonight. So shout out to you, sir. And I saw him today, and he gave me grief, and he just wanted me to say, no, you're out of order. This whole place is out of order. And we'll get to that in a little bit. So yeah, thanks for the theme there, Jerry. And if other people have suggestions about the theme, you just keep it to yourselves, because I don't really care. It's just me and Jerry's show. So, No, I'm just kidding. I love you people.
Yes.
I love all you people out there. So how's your week been, Jerry? This is like 3 weeks in a row that we're doing this thing, and we haven't been canceled. So
that's true. Yeah.
very, very excited about that.
No cease and desist from YouTube. No, things are going well. I've been busy. We finally got the van.
Yes, you got the van.
It is in our possession, and it is quite sweet. Sarah did end up getting the fancy blue color that she wanted, so we are now officially minivan owners. So exciting times.
Congratulations. I'm sorry at the same time. So you're growing up, my friend. You're becoming an adult.
Of course. It actually has a pretty sweet cockpit, so it's kind of funny.
Nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was in our great city of Columbus last weekend, which we'll talk about in our second segment. Good times there. And but if you already follow me on Twitter and Facebook, you already know what happened. So
I was gonna say, so you had an amazing announcement here.
That's right,
Mr.
Blank.
Yeah, Mr. Elected Vice Mayor, assistant to the
that's right.
What's the Dwight Schrute thing? Assistant to the Vice President.
Assistant to the Vice President. Yeah, that's right. So we'll. That's right. Oh yeah, we should do that too here. So this show is not brought to you by anybody. So we should just jump right into things here. So, we talked a little bit about this last week, and actually the week before. Actually, all 3 shows we've talked about this. But tomorrow, finally, Jerry, is the latest edition of the AAFP resident and student meeting happening in Kansas City, and I saw some of our friends out there on Facebook and Twitter saying there's been a huge storm that kind of went through there this evening, and people had to be held on their plane a little bit, or because of lightning, or couldn't take off, or landed in alternate locations. So hopefully all of our friends out there are getting to the Kansas City area safely. But, Jerry, you probably remember way back then, probably being part of those, storms that go through there. And, they could be windy, they could be lightning, they could be rainy, they could be stormy. But, what else would you expect in Kansas City in August?
Very true. Tornado Alley gets its name for a reason, so it's a very well-named area.
So if I can look at your shirt there, giving a shout out to who are you giving a shout out there with that shirt there, Jerry?
So this is my alma mater, as it were, Self Regional Healthcare, the family medicine residency program in Greenwood, South Carolina. I am sure that they are being well represented in Kansas City right now at the national conference at the residency fair that they have every year. The state of South Carolina often campaigns together for residents. So if you go to search them out, they will be in the South Carolina block. I don't honestly know who's there for them this year, but no matter who it is, they'll be having fun.
So yeah, let's talk about this block thing. So for people who are unfamiliar with this whole thing, so this resident student meeting, so if you're a medical student and you go out there and you want to look at your next stage of training, which would be a residency program where you go for 3 years if you're in family medicine. And so when you go out to this meeting, they have this huge hall at the Kansas City Convention Center. And in there, you can go and talk to people who you would want to maybe continue your medical training. And there's some states that kind of are grouped together, and they all kind of, they take over kind of a row of booths there in South Carolina. That's right. And I personally, as a student and even as a resident, I hated going back past those because you get you people in a group of people, and you get kind of aggressive. You get kind of mean, and you kind of intimidate people as people go by. Can you address that there, Dr. Tolbert?
That does sometimes occur. I know that I've been one of those booth babes, as it were, and I tried very hard not to be aggressive when people would come by. The problem that you run into is not so much aggression as the sheer number. There are 9 programs in South Carolina, so you're dealing with not just one group of people that are trying to get your attention, but 9. So it's a little bit more to deal with, and that's not just actually, it may not be 9. It may be 7. I may have miscounted there in my head. But anyway, regardless, it's more than one group trying to get your attention. And while they are all kind of campaigning for the state as a whole, they really are trying to talk to you about their program as well. And my problem was always that I felt bad if I listened to one, but I didn't listen to the rest of them, especially since there was one particular group that recruited me to South Carolina and got me interested in the state itself, and then another group that really recruited me to their residency. So I had to make sure that I spent equal time with as many groups as I could, just so I didn't feel bad.
How did you get there? I mean, I think you knew some people there, or a bunch of people there, and that's how they kind of drug you, brainwashed you to go to that program. Is that right, Jerry?
Quite a few people. Our good friend Dr. Danny Lewis was at the Self-Regional program, and I had made contact as the president of the Family Medicine Interest Group at University of Kentucky. While I was president, I'd made contact with some folks from Columbia, South Carolina, from a different program there, Palmetto, and I had really enjoyed their program and was very interested in what they had to offer, but I really decided I wanted a community-based program, not a university-based program, and so I ended up selecting Greenwood as the community-based alternative. We did get to do some stuff with Columbia. In fact, South Carolina originally did all of our advanced life support and obstetrics classes together, and so all of the residency programs would come together. All of the interns would come in and do the class together in one big room. It was really cool because you got to meet a lot of the other interns and spend some time with folks from all across the state.
Cool. Yeah, and there was only one program that I wanted to go to, which is close to my medical school, and the program director there was one of my family medicine mentors, and I already knew a lot of people there, and it's close to Family Medicine Rocks World headquarters here, and I wanted to stay local, close to my family and close to my wife's family, and so I didn't have to do a lot of looking, but I did go around the exhibit hall there, and basically just make fun of people, make fun of people that I knew at the residency programs already, which is always fun, and I remember, going there when students, back in the day, when we still had textbooks, and
Yeah.
I remember, getting a textbook there, because sometimes they would just get the newest edition of something, and I would always have in my head, well, how am I going to, put this in my backpack or in my luggage or something like that? But
How do you get it home?
how do I get it home? But now, Jerry, I mean, they don't have that anymore. Well, I mean, I know they have booksellers there now, but they're not really needed. I mean, they just you just download everything now, and they're just kind of archaic. And but back in the day, kids, when I used to walk to the convention center in 10 feet of snow. Not really, because it was August in Kansas City. Both ways uphill. Well,
Yeah,
it was
definitely.
uphill.
And there was an
exactly.
escalator involved.
So is that an example of a book there, Jerry?
So yeah, well, not only is it an example of a book, it's one that I think this one it was either the older edition of this or this one specifically that was purchased in Kansas City. So there you go.
Wow, you have props, man. You're a broadcast pro. I got nothing.
Visual aids, as they are called in the biz.
Yeah. So big shout out to all our friends out there. So if you're following on Twitter, it's a hashtag AAFPNC, and I've already seen people through the day today saying, hey, I'm at the airport and I'm changing planes and I can't wait to get there and I'm here, and so it's cool kind of watching that. We can watch from afar there, Jerry, as all the fun happens.
Agreed. I do kind of miss some of the excitement that goes in there. I do not miss the shuttle ride from the airport to downtown, but I do miss the convention, the conference. One of the other things that I did want to plug that I really enjoyed when we were out there for National Conference, both as a student and as a resident, the AAFP does have a lot of booths set up themselves, and so you'll have access to member services, you'll have access to all of the cool swag that the AAFP produces, T-shirts and mugs and fun stuff like that. There's also typically a booth for I'm going to butcher the name, but it's the wing that takes care of historical preservation. They do the Family Medicine Museum basically, and that was a really sweet booth that they had set up. Had a lot of old equipment set up there. And they even had a contest when I was a resident. If you could guess the function of all of these different pieces of equipment, they gave us a book, and I still have it. It's a coffee table book with all of these really neat family medicine historical things in it. It was really, really pretty sweet booth. So another booth to hit up while you're there.
That would be the Center for the History of Family Medicine.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah, that was cool.
You got the cool toys too.
Yeah, it's just fire up the Google machine, and that can save you. So yeah, I mean, they're still. I mean, it hasn't even officially started yet, and I'm seeing people kind of partying on Twitter there. Very excited, that they're there. So yeah, good times. And if people want to check out more about the meeting, I believe it's aafp.org/NC for National Conference. So, so Jerry, you have some new equipment there because you've been teasing about it for the last couple shows, and to try to make us a real show, to tell us about the new toys that you have there.
So, for those that were paying attention during the first two episodes, as it were, they probably saw me using my Snowball. Great microphone, great podcasting microphone, but it does not have a traditional mic plug. So I invested in a mixer now, so I have ways to plug audio. I know we've tried a couple of times to get some video going. May not be able to get that 100% yet, but I can definitely get audio. In fact, let's see if I can find a good representation here so you can kind of get a listen. You'll have to tell me if I blow you out here, but let's see. Here's my Ferris Bueller quote.
I asked for a car, I got a computer. How's that for being born under a bad sign?
So now I can.
That was perfect. That sound was perfect.
I can run a soundboard here and have some external sounds that we can punch through. We can do the theme songs and everything. I'm running that off my iPad, running it through the router, and then putting together all of the bits and pieces in order to kind of make this like a real show. So I've got the audio stuff going. We're working on the video part. One of the things that I did figure out is if we do this through a screen share, we can get the video back up on the actual Hangout. and then I can sync the audio from the iPad and just run them both at the same time. So we get video and audio at that point. So there we've got to work around at least for the time being. But yeah, it's fun. We were playing with it pre-show and trying to get the level set and everything. I showed you the theme song. You know, I've been playing around with GarageBand for a long time, and when I was resident, here's another plug for making your own stuff. One of my classmates for his senior project decided he wanted to do a education video, and we taught a Coumadin education video. If I can ever find it, I'll put it on here. We'll share it with everybody. But it was the coolest thing that I think I've ever done, and we used exam lights and a whole bunch of other stuff that we had. We filmed it on iPhones. We edited it on an iPad. We wrote the music in GarageBand. He was actually a very musical kind of guy, so he's the one that kind of got me started playing around with it. But the whole thing was done on handheld devices, and this was 3, 4, almost years ago. And so it was really neat to see that stuff, and that's really what got me interested in kind of this create your own stuff. So that's why the mixer was something I was willing to invest in. You know, I also play guitar and don't really sing much, but it's handy to have all that stuff. So there you go.
So what is the mixer for all the geeks out there?
I'm on my my Mac camera here. Let me see if I can get this up.
I mean, you don't have to show it to me because they'll probably
it's
probably unplug everything.
Yeah, I was going to say then we won't have any sound, and I'll just be sitting here talking to myself, which may be what's happening anyway. This may just all be made up and in my head. Anyway, so it's a Alesis, A-L-E-S-I-S.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's a multi-mix 4 USB, and so it has 4 channels that I can run, and I've got a stereo cable that splits the output from my iPad to give it 2 channels. That way I can kind of tweak that a little bit. We can get a left-right sound out of it, get a true stereo, and then I've got the microphone run into the primary channel right now. That's all I've got set up. Excuse me, I played around with some other stuff too, but it just gives me a little bit of a chance to get more than one audio source, which the Mac sometimes balks at.
Cool. So we'll be actually he'll be exploring that further because I have no idea what he's talking about, but it's cool. So it works for me. So before I move on, I just want to give a big a plug to the October meeting, which I will be doing a lot of stuff at, hopefully tweeting out and doing a lot of cool stuff. So that's the AAFP annual meeting. It'll be October 21 through 25 in Washington, D.C., and Jerry and I will be probably working on some kind of live Google Hangout where I'll be talking to him through my iPhone or something. So that'd be kind of cool. And the hashtag is AAFP 2014. Hashtag AAFP 2014. It's going to be a lot of cool stuff going on during that meeting. So stay tuned for that. We'll be having a lot of cool things, hopefully interviewing people leading up to that meeting and having people talk to us. If not, then Jerry and I will continue to talk to ourselves, which will be entertaining for us. So
for those not in the know, that's the American Academy of Family Physicians national meeting, the Congress of Delegates, where we decide policy for the Academy, and then the Scientific Assembly, where a lot of the research that's done in family medicine, a lot of the cutting edge changes in family medicine practice and policy are kind of announced. Lots of speakers and workshops and great stuff, great chances for family physicians to get together to network, but also to learn. Just a really great meeting, and it's all over the place. Last year was San Diego, and my wife and daughter and I all went out there. That was great. I got to stand in front of Hall H, and I could have just walked right in. For those of you who have just experienced or know anything at all about Comic-Con, that just happened there at the San Diego Convention Center, and Hall H is where they have all the big announcements. So I got a little excited when we got to stand outside Hall H. I nerded out a little bit.
Cool.
This year's DC, so it's still exciting, but it's not Comic-Con exciting.
And a big shout out to our good friend AFP president to give us a little Facebook retweet. I don't know what you call that, a face tweet. I don't know. Is it
a reface?
A reface? Are we? Maybe he'll never retweet us again.
I don't. So Reed is involved in some of the stuff that we've kind of been teasing, just to increase the hype that we've got going here. I want people to know that he is endorsing not us specifically, but what we stand for. The idea of bringing family medicine forward and making it revolutionary.
Oh yeah, definitely. He shouldn't. He should not endorse us. That would be the end of his career. So yes, you are correct. He was endorsing the concept and the ideas and the ideals that we are talking about. So. All right, so I do want to talk a little bit about my weekend, last weekend in the great city of Columbus, Ohio, and it was the annual meeting of our state group, the Ohio chapter, the Ohio Academy of Family Physicians, and people who follow me on Twitter and Facebook see that I had a great time out there. Always a good time to get together with longtime friends and to make new friends. A lot of good educational type of things that happened. But the thing that I'm very excited about, well, actually, a couple things I was very excited about. One, that they asked me to be the big old parliamentarian here for the business session, which means that if people were out of bounds with their parliamentary procedure, I got to basically taser them. And it was a good time doing that. But no, not really, not really. Just kidding. So that was fun doing that. And then. So now, but as happens every year, we elect officers for the organization, for our association, and I have finally started out on the leadership ladder as far as being an officer for the organization. So the starting point, the entry level officer, is what they call the vice speaker. For the organization, and Jerry has evidence of this.
Yeah, if you look at my screen, you'll see Mike's announcement. I was quite pleased with this picture. And as Tim McKenna, another friend of the show and a friend of ours, has said, that picture definitely is a prime example of the phrase, like a boss, if that were...
Yeah, and thanks to everybody on Facebook who left comments, appropriate or otherwise, and for your likes there, and and big shout out to our friend Tim there, who has moved on from the Pennsylvania Academy of Family Physicians, and he has gotten a different job, a better job, and but I know that. We'll continue to keep in touch and remain friends, and he was great to work with when he was up with the Pennsylvania chapter up there. So, like a boss, of course. That
most definitely.
But one of the things that we talked about in a little bit more serious tone during the business session was one of the resolutions that came up was from a member talking about frustrations about prior authorizations, and to let people know, if people don't know what they are, outside of the medical arena. So say that I would order or write a prescription for something or write for a test or something. Usually people would think, oh, well, then that's going to happen. But in today's day and age, in our modern healthcare system. That sometimes isn't the case. Sometimes it is asking permission. Sometimes it is a mother, may I get this medication? And there's a lot of hoops to be jumped through sometimes, meaning that I have to fill out these 4 pieces of paper in triplicate. Sometimes I have to get on the phone, or one of my staff has to get on the phone. Sometimes I have to, make available to them some information about you as a patient. Basically, just wasting time. As
right.
far as trying to get you, my patient, the right treatment or right testing. And there was a lot of discussion about this, and there was also a recent article in the New York Times, which has been tweeted out and has been on Facebook and all that type of stuff, talking about that. And it is a real problem. It is a real barrier, I think, to good medical care in the United States. And I even felt inspired. Maybe I'll even write a blog post, my first blog post in 6 months, because there was a lot of good discussion about it. A lot of people are upset about it. It really gets in the way of good care, and there's going to be a resolution taken from our state to the national meeting, and hopefully we will continue to drive the conversation, maybe get our friends at the national level to not only take notice of it, but to take some action on it. So I think that was the main topic from a policy standpoint, from a patient care standpoint that we talked about last weekend. And Jerry, you probably have never run into prior authorizations, right? You don't know what that is.
Never. In fact, I was just trying to deal with one the other day. One of the hang-ups. So here's a prime example of how prior authorization can be kind of a goofy thing. One of the patients that I have is a diabetic, hypertensive, overweight, and has issues with a foot ulcer that has made him non-weight bearing. He can't walk around on his foot, so he can't exercise, and he's actually fairly motivated. So he had been exercising, he had been working on losing weight, and then he got this ulcer, and it put him down. So one of the things we talked about was there are some new medications out for weight loss that are relatively effective, and but because they're new, they're also expensive, and because they're expensive, I was trying to see pricing here, like up to $300 a month. Most insurances won't cover them as a first line. So I wrote the prescription. He took it to the pharmacy. They basically gave him the short, well, your insurance company may not cover this. We'll call your doctor and get it straightened out. That's usually what happens if there's a prior authorization required. So they called me. Actually, they sent me a fax. I called the insurance company, asked about the medicine. They said, we can do we'll start the prior authorization process. What's his diagnosis? So I told them all of his diagnoses and had a pretty good discussion with them about, the fact that this guy is motivated, wants to lose weight. If he loses weight, his diabetes will get better, his blood pressure will get better, etc. He can't do that through traditional means. The medicine would be a great way to do it, and he's tried other things, but at this point he cannot do them. And they said, well, obesity is not an indication for a weight loss medicine. I nearly threw the phone across the room. I'm still trying to figure out if obesity isn't an indication for a weight loss medicine, what would be, especially morbid obesity, meaning that it's causing a disease process that it could potentially kill him. It's a sad state of affairs when we have to prove that our patients have a requirement for a medicine that we as physicians have decided would be appropriate for them. So I understand limiting access to things that are truly expensive and truly unnecessary. If you've got somebody who is 10 pounds overweight and they just don't want to exercise because it's inconvenient, then yeah, they probably don't necessarily need an insurance to pay for the medicine to lose weight. If they are physically unable, that's a pretty good reason to give them coverage, because not only does it save the insurance company in the long run, in the short term it's even going to save them, because this patient's not going to, have huge hospital bills from being sick because he can't get up and move around. So I don't know. You're right. It's a broken system. We actually addressed this at NCSC this year. It was one of the topics that came up, and came a resolution, I think, out of either the IMG or maybe the Minority Caucus, if I'm not mistaken. Sarah, if you're listening, you could probably tell me better, but.
Yeah, speaking of that, before our last topic, we are going to talk about Ebola. But now that you mention the spring family medicine meeting of the American Academy of Family Physicians, so it's going to be in the spring next year, April 30 to May 2. So it's going to be the brand spanking new. That's right. National Conference of
brand new.
That's right. National Conference of Constituency Leaders. Now I am probably said that wrong, and now I am so embarrassed.
No, it was NCCL, National Conference of Constituency Leaders. Yeah.
So what I'm hoping with our show here, we're going to help promote that as well, and even if it's now, hashtag AAFPNCCL or AAFP.org/leader, LEADER, and the 25th anniversary will be next year, so we're very excited about that, and we'll be talking about that more as the weeks and months go along. But just a little bit of a teaser there for that, because you never know, when that we're going to be talking about this again. So, our last topic, Jerry, do you have any thoughts or any?
Sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Yeah, so mass hysteria. This is something that is a hot button topic, no pun intended. The news has been all over the Ebola outbreak in Africa. One of many in the past, but very large, actually probably the largest, most lives lost. I was just looking for some up-to-date numbers. Well over 900 people. I think it was like 937 last I saw. Casualties from this Ebola outbreak, including 2 Americans who are now back in the States, both of them, and are doing well, interestingly enough, after some new treatments. But yeah, it's a crazy times.
And there's been a lot multitasking, if you can tell.
Yeah, no worries. I was looking up some numbers. So I was trying to talk and read at the same time.
Yeah, I've had a lot of, not only my patients, but a lot of people in the community ask me about Ebola and the danger to the United States, and could it come here, and why was Outbreak such a bad movie? All the really important questions. Why are they bringing those patients back here? It's crazy. The hysteria. I think when it really started hitting home for people is, I think it was like 2 days ago when there was a report out of New York City. New York City.
Yeah, get a rope.
And that somebody was being tested for Ebola. Not there was a diagnosis, that they were being tested for that. And that's when a lot of national news organizations kind of pick that up. Forget that there were still planes going from West Africa to England,
Sure.
but they have canceled all that stuff. But it's interesting kind of seeing and monitoring the hysteria, because I saw some news reports about how some airports were going to treat this, like the SARS, where they have they can detect thermal scanners, and forget that Ebola can be there for 21 days before anybody would pick it up. Forget about that. So how all these things are going to try to prevent things from coming to the United States, and then you have the isolationists out there saying these people shouldn't even be coming back to the United States, and those doctors are treating those people out in Africa, but if they get it, then they should just stay there, and we shouldn't care about them. So that's just kind of like, really? I mean, they're Americans. So that's just talk like that is it's crazy talk. It's crazy talk, Jerry.
Agreed. Yeah, there's just so much misinformation floating around, not only about how you contract Ebola, but what happens to people that are exposed, what level of exposure is required. Really, most hemorrhagic fevers, and I know when the pre-show, actually before the pre-show, we were talking about, I suggested we talk about all the hemorrhagic fevers like Marburg and Hanta, which is actually, it's endemic in the United States. That's something that in the southern U.S., hantavirus, which is another form of hemorrhagic fever, it's there all the time. There's a travel warnings for yellow fever and dengue fever, also the similar family of diseases. So yes, the fatality rates from those are not quite as high as they would be from Ebola or Marburg, but the problem is that people get so afraid of, for lack of a better way to put it, the unknown. They don't understand, they don't know, they don't understand that this is a fluid-borne illness. This isn't necessarily an airborne illness. If it becomes airborne, and that's one of the things, like the movie Outbreak you mentioned here, actually, here's a great quote from that one. Let me see if I can get it to play.
Wow, this is great technology there, kids.
Don't mess with this stuff. You got to be ready for anything. Nothing in here that can't kill you, including the air.
So even the air will kill you. So that idea of, the idea that if it does aerosolize, if it does become an airborne virus, then that is a problem. That is a scary thing that can happen. But that's sort of the worst case scenario kind of idea, and it doesn't happen. Ebola is not airborne. In fact, I was doing some reading, but just as you said, when patients ask these questions, I try to be up to date on my information. And that was a plug. If they want to sponsor us, I'm more than happy to take their sponsorship. But I was reading about hemorrhagic fevers and some of the interesting Ebola information, and the only known airborne cases were from aerosolized body fluids. So essentially during surgery, they were doing things that were causing the fluids to liquefy and go into the air. That's the only time that it's ever been an airborne quote-unquote thing. It was still solids, or liquids, I should say, but they were in droplet form. So it's exceedingly difficult to catch this without being in contact with the body fluids of somebody who is truly infected. So it's one of those things where the media has definitely pushed this well beyond the fear zone that is adequate for what we're really dealing with.
We'll see what it all how it all ends up there. So I know it's still on the front pages right now, and so it's just interesting, at least for me, just to kind of see how the media kind of frames this, basically just to get ratings. So hey, that's what their job is.
It's the number 3 trending term on Twitter right now.
All right, so we will end the show here with something from the Odd News File, which I always like to end shows with. So I will read this with my fake news voice, with my Anchorman news voice. No, I'm just kidding.
Here, I'll give you some background music to talk to here.
So the title is Petition, Strapping iPads to Tortoises is Cruel.
Sorry.
From the Associated Press from 1 hour ago, Aspen, Colorado, Dateline. A Colorado art museum is standing by an upcoming exhibit featuring 3 tortoises with iPads mounted on their backs, despite calls from animal rights activists to call out the exhibit as animal abuse. The Aspen Art Museum released a statement Wednesday supporting the exhibit called, quote, Moving Ghost Town, unquote. The exhibit opened Saturday as part of the public grand opening of the town's new $45 million museum. The African tortoises will roam around grass on the museum's roof deck garden. I'm not making this up. Each will have 2 iPads showing video of area ghost towns. The museum said that tortoises were rescued from a breeder and that a veterinarian is overseeing their care and that their diet includes leafy vegetables. iPads are on mounts attached with an epoxy used to attach tracking devices to wild animals, the museum said. The spokeswoman said, it's not the museum's practice to censor artists. Really?
Yeah, nice. Censoring an artist and saving a tortoise, you know.
The 3 are being closely monitored for, cared for, and checked by a local veterinarian at regular intervals and are being exhibited in consultation with the Turtle Conservancy. The exhibit closes on October 5th. The museum also sent a statement from an Aspen veterinarian. Quote, the iPads have not interfered in any way with their natural behavior. But
so 2 things here. First, I am scrambling to find a picture that is quite fitting to go with this, and I will find it. You just got to give me a minute. The second is, oh, seriously, it should be right there. Okay, hold on, I'm still looking. But the second thing is my concern here is this just a ploy by Michael Bay to advertise for the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie? Or is this, is there something else less insidious going on? Oh gosh, come on. The thing I'm looking for here is about hasn't been too long ago, just 4 or 5 years ago. We actually got to be part of a backstage event at the Columbia Zoo, I guess. And got to hang out with some Galapagos tortoises that were 100 years old. I've got pictures of me with the Galapagos tortoises. I just got to find them.
Did they have iPads on them? They probably did.
They did not. Actually, it was funny. The iPad made me think there was one of them that only had one eye. Actually, here it is. Okay, here's the picture.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Hold on. I'm going to screen share. I got to get the picture big enough so that actually. So
this is the best worst show ever.
I know.
This is awesome.
This is fitting. Here we go.
Just think if we did show prep.
I know. Well, see, here's the thing. I was vamping trying to get this up. So there you go. So there's a picture of me and the 100-year-old Galapagos tortoise named Bravo.
I got nothing.
Can't see the picture?
Well, there it is now. Okay.
Yeah, my screen share. The screen share comes up only when I talk. So that's the. So that's me and the Galapagos tortoise. There's a picture of my wife. Well, that's not my wife. That's another tortoise. That's an elephant. So that's definitely not my wife. There's my wife with the other Galapagos tortoise.
Wow. Do you know how many iPads you can put on that thing? Look at that.
If you're using epoxy, probably about 12. Just looking at the surface area of the shell. I guess if you used iPad minis, you could get way more. So
here's my question there, Jerry. So, what's the battery life of the whole thing? Do they have to charge them?
So it is notoriously so. The battery life for if they wanted to put those flashlights that you wind up or the ones that just shake, I guess they could use that. Use that as a power source, but who knows? I don't know how much electricity does a tortoise generate? Probably not a whole lot. They don't move much.
No, I don't think so. No. So, well, but maybe they're also going to put solar panels on the tortoises
there you go.
That would be green, wouldn't it?
So I was gonna say, so that offsets the danger of attaching the iPad to them. If you had a solar panel, and then of course you have to add some wind turbines and maybe a couple of maybe you just put them on a treadmill instead of I know they're on grass and that's good for them. I'm done. I got nothing. I'm man. I can't keep a straight face.
Oh man! All mail goes to mail@familymedicinerocks.com. No, just kidding.
Send your show ideas for something that actually is funny.
That's right.
To info@familymedicinerocks.com.
That's right. So that usually means that we have run out of material. So.
This is again, we're doing a 30-minute show and it's 45 minutes in, so we're good.
That's right. That's right.
We run out, man.
So this is Beta Alpha Gamma show number 14, or I don't remember what it is.
This is actually show number 3. And last week was episode 2, Attack of the Groans.
Oh, nice, nice.
My Star Wars reference for the night.
Cool. So, you got anything else for us, Jerry? I'm enjoying the mixer there, and if people have suggestions on what to put on the mixer as far as sound effects or other type of suggestions, definitely let us know. I know Jerry will probably surprise us next week with some new stuff there, but overall, dude, the sound came through okay, and if one of these days we do some show prep, this may be a fabulous show one of these days.
Agreed, and I have only one thing left to say to you.
When 900 years old, you reach look as good you will not.
Oh, there you go. So, is there people? I feel bad for all of you out there because you're going to miss the after show, which is going to be so much better than this. But people can follow you on Twitter. Is that it? And other places?
Yes. Yeah. I'm on Twitter at Dr. Tolbert, DrTolbert. Feel free to follow. I usually don't tweet about things that are very exciting or interesting, but they're definitely relevant to the time. So it's not the tweet that you need. It's not the tweet that you want. It's the tweet that you need.
Nice. Oh, and you want to give a little plug to your AFP blog that you're involved with?
Yeah. So we have actually. It's a fitting thing. We've been we've made it to the end of an era here. We're getting ready to kind of not really reset, but kind of step back and get everybody gathered back in and start coming up with some new topics. So the blog is a new physician blog called Fresh Perspectives from the AAFP. If you go to the aafp.org website and search for Fresh Perspectives blog, you will find it there. There are lots of us physicians who have been in practice for less than 7 years that are writing articles about all of the different experiences that we have, both in our lives and with patients and across the board, things that kind of humanize medicine, make family doctors into people instead of just that vision that people sometimes have of us because they only see us for a few minutes each day. So neat blog, neat place to learn more about what your doctor is really thinking.
Cool. And thanks to everybody out there who have checked out the show live or on the archives or on demand. That's what the cool people say now. And I think we've had somewhere between 20 and 30 plus people who have checked out the show. Only about 28 of them are me kind of refreshing the
the other 5 are me.
Okay, great. But you can check me out at DrMikeSevilla.com. And big shout out to all our friends in Kansas City. I know it's storming out there right now, but hopefully everybody's going to get there safely. And I'll be following on Twitter at #AAFPNC.
Maybe they can all go to the beach here. It's a nice, relaxing beach.
And that's all I got. So thank you, Jerry. Thanks again for spending some time with the folks out there and exploring your geekiness with the mixer. So I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, no worries. And I have something to take us out on here. I think you'll appreciate this. Do you ever watch public television?
Yes, I do, Jerry.
Are you a fan of public television game shows?
Yes, I am, Jerry.
This is one of my favorite game shows from my childhood, and I still sing this song in the shower.
Turn up a little bit.
To Carolina, she's a sticky finger from Berlin down to Belize. She's on a slow boat to China. Tell me where in the world is. See, there's so
All right, I can't play too much, otherwise YouTube will kick us off. So
that's right, man. So till next time, kid. This is Dr. Mike Sevilla reminding you that Medicine rocks. Good night, kids. Bye.
Good night. Later.